Hello everybody, it's Colby, and I'm going to show off this game. Um, I've been working on this game for 3.5 months now. Uh, actually 4.5. Uh, I'm not good at math right now. Anyways, let me turn the music off. It's distracting me. Uh, I've been working on this game for the past 4.5 months. It's my final project at Full Sail. I've been working on it with a team. I'll go over. I guess I'll go over everybody right now. No reason not to. So, for the design team, these are the guys that I'm meeting with. Every day, almost every day. Working together, we're the ones who actually like make the project, like the functionality. We make all the mechanics and everything. So we've got Rob. He is our systems designer. I'm our other systems designer. I focus primarily on AI. So like the enemies and bosses in the game are mostly done by me, or at least have been reworked or bug fixed by me. But Rob has done pretty much all the other systems. He did the player movement. He did the projectile system. He made the active item system. He's done a lot of things. Then we've got Griffin. He is our UI and visual effects specialist. He's the one who's in charge of making sure that the effects and the UI give clear feedback without being obstructive. So he's the one to blame for all these pretty menus, and you'll see some very, very nice effects that we've been putting together. Then we've got Jonathan and Mitchell. These two are our level designers. And they have been busting ass. They've been making some seriously good levels. And we recently just finished the first pass on every single level and every single room. Then we have me. I already went over what I do. Systems and AI. And then we have Dylan. Dylan's our producer. He's done his fair share of work in engine, actually like building the game and making the systems and everything, but he's also the one who has been doing pretty much all of the work that's done out of the engine, like documentation, planning, administrata, managing us, making sure we all have tasks to do and that we're all staying on task, making sure that our goals are achievable, that kind of thing. He allows the rest of us to work at a much higher level of efficiency than if he weren't taking care of that stuff, because he's really good at that stuff. And then we have the art team. I have met with these guys a little bit recently. We're going to be getting assets from them very soon here. We don't have anything yet, but they've finished their blockouts for a lot of the things. But anyway, so we've got Patricia. She is our rigger and also the animation, and also the environmental artist. So a rigger is a person who like takes a model and puts together essentially a skeleton that the animator gets to use. It makes the animation process much simpler, much cleaner, and it's required for motion capture animation, which is something that we'll be doing. Then we've got Dusty and Adam. These two are our modelers. Dusty has been doing a lot of the creatures. We also have a new person on the art team. He hasn't been added to the credits yet. I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Quigley. I want to say he's Nicholas Quigley. Could be wrong. He's also doing some of the creatures and the fleshy things, and then Adam is doing pretty much all of the models, most of the models that aren't fleshy. So things like plants, rocks, pots, those kind of things. And then we have Jarek. Jarek is our animator. And the cool thing with Jarek specifically is he's actually using this project as his final portfolio piece, which is required by Full Sail to get a grade. All of these other people are in the game art degree, and all of the designers are in the game design degree. So Jarek is actually using this as his final portfolio piece, which means he not only gets to put a lot of work into it, he has to put a lot of work into it, or he won't get a good grade. All the rest of the art team is doing this in their spare time. It's not something that they get graded on or anything. So they can't dedicate as much time to it, but not Jarek. I guess I'll go over the options real quick. So we've got the audio options. We've got the graphics options. I'm just going to keep this in full screen right now. We've got colorblind mode. This basically just disables any colors. If you have protanopia, it disables all of the colors that you can't see, because, at least according to Griffin, who has protanopia, or not protanopia, he has the tritanopia. When the screen displays colors that you can't perceive, like he can't see yellow, so this gets rid of all the yellow. It apparently gives you a headache, so this helps prevent that. Gameplay, we've got different aim assist, we've got some aim assist, we've got some action bar visibility. I will show you that later. Vibration, menu inputs, and the dead zone. And then we have customizable controls, which is huge. That's not something that a lot of student projects get because it's very difficult to set up. But anyway, so you can customize all of your controls except for your movement and your aiming and the pause and inventory controls. So that's all the options we have. I guess I'll hop in here and actually show you guys the game now. I need to reset the player. So I'm just going to die and respawn. There we go. So I guess I'll go into the mechanics showcase first. So first basic things, we just start. Actually, we have a tutorial. It's not complete, but it will help walk us through the basics. So this, you just press a button, that'll continue. You can move with WASD. Go in here. You can shoot by pressing left mouse. Bang, bang. You can also, I didn't show it, but you can retrieve your bolt. So you shoot using left click. Once you shoot, your bolt lands and you have to retrieve it. You can either walk up to it or you can hold left click if you have no ammunition, and it will bring it in to the player. Alright. We've got a sword as well. So you can hit people with the sword, and then but whenever you do damage with the sword, it takes up drips, and you get drips back by hitting enemies with crossbow bolts. Let me show this up as well. You can also reflect projectiles. It's not in the tutorial yet. The tutorial's not complete. So if I shoot this guy, let's see, I get a drip pack. And I think this is, yeah. So then we've got a marking system. If you shoot somebody, if you shoot an enemy, they get marked and they have this little yellow thing over their head. If you hit them while they're marked, it doesn't cost trips. And this is the room where it breaks because we haven't finished it yet. We haven't finished the tutorial yet, but this is teaching about the charge shot. And those guys are supposed to instantly die when you hit them. We just haven't finished the tutorial yet. So I gotta go out to the main menu. So that covered basic movement, evading, firing, charge shot, ammo retrieval, and sword swinging and drips. So this is our mechanic showcase scene, and this has mostly just become about these items. So these are active items. So if I grab, say, this one, it's called a radial burst. So if I better turn on infinite drips. So you see it now, I have this right here, this icon, and it shows the cost as well. So if I press E, it fires off a bunch of projectiles. Not super interesting, but we also have passive items over here. And the passive items make the active items better, as well as just, you know, making your play experience better in general. So we've got the radial burst, also got the firewall, which I can pick up here. This one, you put down a wall of fire. If you fire arrows through it, they become set on fire. And it looks like they're exploding right now. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be how it is. That wasn't originally. We've got, no, not the radial burst. We've also got, this is becoming a mess. We've got the fireball. You just throw a fireball. It makes a big explosion. We've got the bubble shield. I can't pick this up until this timer takes over. If I press this, it pulls a bubble shield up around me, and when this is active, any enemy projectiles that would hurt me heal me instead. I'm still vulnerable to explosions and melee damage, but projectiles heal me instead of hurting me. We've got the grapple. Let's see, this one's actually free. It's pretty simple. It just helps you move around. You can also grapple to enemies and stuff. And then we have the whirlwind. So this one, it just swings your sword around. It's not disabling the sword that's in the player's hand. It's supposed to. But it's not doing that right now. So basically the idea is you throw your sword in a circle around you. Alright, so then if I grab all of these passive items, this is one of every single one we have in the game, see my bolts, they bounce off walls now. They also lead fire all the time instead of just if I shot through a firewall. My sword is bigger, and it has a chance to spawn fire like that. So then if I use the whirlwind, you'll see the sword is bigger, it hits things easier, and it also spawns fire. I just have it always spawn fire if you have the passive that gives you a chance to spawn fire when you melee. Just because it's setting up the randomness for the active item. I'm really tired right now. Just because we didn't want our active items to have any element of randomness in them. We want the player to know exactly what's going to happen when they activate their active item, assuming that they understand the systems and all the passives they have. So the radial burst Yeah, these projectiles now leave fire behind, and they also reflect. And they last longer. So that's become a lot better. I believe the firewall is the only other one that scales. So if I do this, and I already have the firebolts passive, my bolts explode. They take a little while to explode right now because they're reflecting off of everything. So if I just grab this one, so if I go into this combat room, it has a couple shooters and some chargers. So the first thing, I'm going to just do a charge shot, and it's going to clear the room. Yeah. So if the player gets literally every passive in the game, they become essentially a god, and it's almost impossible to lose. However, we are setting up the game so that there is no possibility that the player will get every passive in the game in any single run. And if I do this one, you'll see it also clears the room. Yeah. So head back to the hub and reset myself. Close that. Okay. Alright. So, I didn't show off, but we also have an inventory. And, I guess I can just... I wanted the other one. I guess I can show it off. There's no real reason not to. So if I grab all of these passives and an active, if I open up my inventory, you'll see there's all the passive items get added into the inventory, and also the active up here, and they all have descriptions. So I'm not gonna bother going over every single passive. I'll mention a few of my favorites. We've got Fire Evade, which means when I evade now, I leave fire behind. We've got the Fire Bolts. I really like the Fire Bolts. I really like the Reflect Bolts. We've got this one, Charge Shot, spawns new bolts. So if you fire a charge shot, at an enemy, when it pierces, it goes through, and it also spawns 2 additional bolts that go out behind the enemy in like a V. And when you get that, along with the piercing shots redirect, where is that one? Yeah, piercing shots automatically redirect to the nearest enemy. If you get those 2, it's kind of broken. That's not what I wanted. So I'll show off our obstacles now. So first we have this damage volume. It just deals damage to me. Oh, this is another system that's new. The armor pieces on the player, they're all the blue pieces on the player. They actually fall off and go away when you take damage to your armor. And if I get my armor back by cheating, you'll see it all comes back, except for the helmet. Using the cheat menu to put armor back on breaks it sometimes. Let me see, here's this guy. Yeah. So anyways, we've got the damage volume. We've got exploding barrels. You can shoot them, they will explode, and then you can melee them, and they will also explode. Enemies can also shoot them and they'll explode. We've got this bolt thief. He just, if you shoot your bolt, he grabs it and he takes it back to his nest. We've got trigger spikes. These, once you walk over them, spikes come up, and the spikes will damage me. The spikes can also damage enemies, but they don't actually come up when enemies walk over them. The idea is we can have the player walk over this, and if an enemy's following behind them, the player can activate these spikes, and the enemy will go across them and take some damage. We've got the dolly volume. This one's just a damage volume, but it moves. It's very nice. And then we've got the wind geyser. So this thing pushes me anytime it's active, and it also will push my shots. Fire into it. I believe enemy shots also get redirected. I'm not positive though. So then we can go show off the enemies. Alrighty. So these are really all the stuff that I've worked on. So we've got our two mainstay enemies. We've got the basic shooter, just shoots one. We've got the charger. You'll see the charger actually has a pseudo rig and gross placeholder animations. But yeah, he charges up an attack, and then he does his charge. Then we have the shooter. This guy just shoots normally. He also has a special panic system. If I shoot him, he now shoots faster and less accurately. So if I sit still, they're mostly going to miss me. But if you're moving, that amount of inaccuracy doesn't really matter. Also, when there are multiple enemies in the room, and you have one that's panicking, even if the projectiles aren't directly coming at you, it's more projectiles that are on the screen that you have to deal with, so it makes it more difficult. We've got a burst shooter. This guy's like the other shooter, except he fires in bursts. And he also panics, so he fires faster and less accurately. Yeah, these guys are kind of scary when they panic. Get rid of him. I'm doing these kind of out of order, but that's alright. Then we've got a spread shooter. This one's like a normal shooter, except he fires in spreads. And he also panics. So he'll fire faster, and the cool thing with the inaccuracy is that the inaccuracy is actually applied to every single projectile, rather than just like his spread. So you'll see his spreads are coming out, and they're kind of messed up. They're not even like they were when he had full top. Let's see here. Do they still? Yeah, they don't respawn properly, which is okay because we don't have respawning enemies in our game, anyways. In our finished game, anyways. They only break in the showcase scene. We've got the exploders. You'll notice these guys look exactly like the exploding barrels, and that is intentional. They're, oh yeah, they just explode forever when they spawn. They're meant to kind of make the player panic a little bit. I'm actually going to turn that music back on because it sounds really empty right now. Their purpose is to surprise the player and introduce some panic. And make combat encounters spicy. We've got this guy, the Unitizer. He's a living fireball, and he just like walks around, and he has this damage volume around him that expands and contracts. Yeah. I didn't take damage from his damage volume there because I have invincibility on. We've got the sniper. This is another shooter variant. He doesn't move, and he has a much longer range and a much faster projectile, but he does this special like laser homing in kind of thing to show the player what's going to be happening. It's really hard to reflect his projectiles, but you can. He also doesn't panic. He doesn't fire faster and more inaccurate when he is at lower health. We've got a healer. So you'll see this if I shoot these shooters, they're going to start panicking and firing at me quickly. Then the healer comes along and heals them, and they calm down. They don't panic anymore. But he also hides behind any ranged enemies in the scene. You'll see he's actually like keeping them in between him and me, at least as much as he can. He's kind of stuck up against the wall there. But he only has 1 health, so if I can get up close to him, he only takes 1 shot to kill. And this, like this right here, you'll see things get a little more hectic when you have multiple shooters that are panicking. So that's our healer. We've also got 2 blockers. We've got this guy. He's the defender. He basically tries to get between the player and any ranged enemies and protect them. So he's got a really, really big hitbox and 5 health, which is quite a bit. So he soaks up a lot of shots, and the enemies behind him get to stay alive. He's also got this like force field-y thing. What that does is it makes enemy projectiles that go through it faster, and it makes my projectiles slower. If I can. It's really hard to see because the room is so small, but you see it goes really slow then. But I can get rid of him and take these guys. So that's our defender. His primary purpose is basically just to have a lot of health and stand between the player and shooters. His force field thing is kind of secondary. Then we've got this guy. He's the reflector. So I can reflect projectiles with my sword like I just did. This guy can also reflect projectiles. So see if I fire at him, he reflects at me. He has a cooldown on that reflect so that he can't just do it forever. But he moves exactly like the other defender. We've got gremlins. These guys are going to be there and gone really, really fast. Essentially what they do is they're just projectiles, living projectiles, and once they see the player, they fling themselves at the player. So these guys will spawn and just immediately become projectiles. They're not too interesting on their own, but that's because they're not meant to be used on their own. We've got this guy. Call him the gremlin launcher. He fires these projectiles. They go up and down, and they spawn gremlins. And you'll see that he tries to hide behind walls. I think he's stuck right now. No, there we go. So these walls have a special tag on them so that he knows he can get behind them. And he just spawns gremlins. So that's it for the basic enemies. I made most of them. And then we've got the bosses. So I'll just do these in the order that they show up in the game. We've got Throtar the Titan. So this guy, he jumps at you 3 times, and then he throws his big fists at you. And he does that. That's all he does. He's a fairly simple boss, but he's also the first boss in the game, so he's meant to be kind of simple. The player will have only gone through 1 dungeon to get to this guy, so they won't have a whole lot of items. But if I bring him down to half health, you'll see he was throwing his fists at the same time before. Now he throws one and then the other. And that makes it harder to dodge. Throws one, and then the other. Yep. I think I need to make them go a little bit faster. These bosses haven't been balanced. Like, they're not the level of difficulty that we want in the fight with the player, but they are finished. Their behaviors are finished. They do everything we want them to do. So like we need to make his fist throw. We need to fine tune his throwing his fists and his jumping and all of that stuff. This scene isn't set up to reinitialize when you kill the enemy, so I just need to go back to the main menu. So like we need to fine tune his stuff and make him more difficult or less difficult depending on the results of any of our playtests. But he does everything that he's supposed to do. So all of that fine-tuning is ready to be done. Then we've got this guy, Mogdaroth, the Summoner. His health bar isn't working right now, I'm not sure why. He's basically a giant gremlin launcher, but he spawns other enemies instead of just gremlins. He spawns these shooters. Right now, shooters are the only thing he spawns. He can spawn any kind of enemy we want. I made a version of him that spawned other versions of him that got out of hand very quickly. Yeah, we can make him spawn any enemy. He uses basically the same pathing as the gremlin launcher. We need to change that. So he has a set number of spawns that he can do per stage. And he changes stages he's got 3 stages. He's got this stage, he goes into his second stage when he gets down to 2/3 health, and his third stage when he gets below 1/3 of health. Anyway, so he's got a limited number of spawns per stage, so he went through all of them, and when he doesn't have any spawns, he just does normal attacks at the player. And he doesn't actually panic until his last stage, but he does have that panic functionality. And we need to change his pathing a little bit because he's really annoying to fight right now, and he's also, like, he tries to shoot the player through walls, which is not something we really want. Jeez. I don't want to die. Yeah, but he spawns normal shooters. Dang it. Woo! Ow. I don't want to die. I'm not going to make myself invincible just yet because this shows off when I take damage. Reflecting his projectiles back at him is kind of the best strategy right now because you can reflect multiple of them, especially if you have the sword size up. So see, right now he goes into his third stage. When he's changing stages, he actually goes into that, he gets that little bubble, and he becomes invincible. And now he's going to spawn a bunch of shooters. Going to make a bunch of them panic. Keep myself in full armor. Yeah, he also, like, none of these bosses are balanced, so they all need fine-tuning. This guy is too hard, the Titan is too easy, and our other boss, Bolstad, is probably also too hard. These bosses were a lot of fun to make, though. I head off to Bolstad. Alright, Bolstad. I need to be invincible for you. So this guy is the final boss. So he's significantly more difficult, and he's also significantly more complicated. So all of the other bosses telegraph their actions much more clearly, or I guess not much more clearly, but the time between their telegraph and their actual action is significantly longer, so the player has time to react. Yeah, this guy doesn't have all of his animations yet, so he doesn't actually give telegraphs for his special attacks. But yeah, he's got his basic attack, so that makes a big, like, sword swing in front of him, so if I'm next to him, I'll take damage. He also spawns projectiles when he swings. And then he has 3 special attacks. So he does fireballs. He also, yeah, so that's a fireball. And it does area damage. It doesn't do more than 1 damage. Okay, more than 1 damage. He also throws his sword like that, and when he throws his sword, it leaves fire trails behind him. Or behind the sword, rather. So he'll throw it, it'll get stuck in a wall, then he calls it back to him. He's also got a grapple, which if I get far enough away, he should use it. This grapple is basically to keep him close to the player because he is most threatening and most interesting to fight when he's up close. Come on. This guy might not... No, I saw him do a grapple. Yeah. So he fires a grappling hook, and if the grappling hook hits the player, it pulls the player towards him. Otherwise, it pulls him towards whatever wall it hit. So in any case, it gets him closer to the player. But if I get him down to... He also has 3 stages. And he also has a transition, a transition when he changes stages. So if I take him down to 20... No, it's 19. No, yeah, no, it's 19. So if I take him down to 19, he'll go into his transition and then his second stage. So during his transition, he throws his sword, and then instead of recalling his sword back to himself, he just sends it flying towards the player. And the player will take damage if they get hit by the sword. They will also get damaged if they walk on the fire that's left behind by the sword. So now he's in his second stage. The only real thing that changes right now is his projectiles per spread. Now he's firing 5 per spread instead of 3. There goes his grapple. And if I get him to go into his third stage, he'll throw his sword and it'll chase after me a bunch again, which I think is really, really cool. So that, and then now he fires 7 projectiles per spread, which makes them much harder to avoid. I could make other things scale as he changes stages, like I could make his attack speed faster, I could make his special attacks happen more frequently. But that's cool off. That's all of the enemies and all of the bosses in our game. And I guess I can show you guys the actual, like, dungeons. These are the actual, like, levels themselves. So, this is the player. So, something I have neglected to mention up until this point is that we have procedural generation in the game. So the dungeons are procedurally generated. At least the first 2 are. The final dungeon is actually static. It's not procedurally generated. And I'll go over the reasoning behind that in a minute. But yeah, now you get to see, this is also where a lot of our UI stuff comes into play. So we have a mini-map up here. Minimap was kind of useless in all those showcase scenes, but that's fine because the showcase scenes aren't actually going to be in the finished game. So yeah, these levels are procedurally generated. Basically we have these squares. Each square is a room, and the procedural generation makes a starting room, and then it makes an exit room, then it makes a path between the starting room and the exit room, and then it adds... And then it spawns all the rooms in, like it actually sets them up. And then it adds some branching paths and treasure rooms. And that's all set up so we could change all of it as needed. So you'll see this room has this little icon under it in the minimap. And this right here is on the floor. So this is an altar. And basically this means this is a combat room. So once I step on this altar, the room will activate. And all the enemies will spawn. I'm really good at this game because I've been making it. Kill all those guys off. And you'll see this altar, once you finish the room, it dissolves into this holy icon kind of thing. And if you shoot... And sometimes it spawns a chest. If you shoot the chest or melee it, it'll give you loot. We have 2 chests. We have a bronze chest, which was that one. Bronze chests mostly just give armor. They have a chance to give some of the lesser passives. And there's also gold chests. Gold chests have a much smaller chance to spawn. Oh, I hate this room. Too early. There we go. I walked into those. I really just did that. yeah, so these are the rooms that our level designers have been working hard on, and they are really, really cool. No. So this game is a roguelike. If you're not familiar with what that means, don't worry about it. It basically just means that we have it basically just means like so the mainstays of roguelikes is procedural generation, permadeath. So when you die, all of your stuff goes away. And then just items. A lot of items. There's other parts that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Generally, roguelikes tend to be very difficult. Oh, jeez. I didn't activate those spikes. Focusing. I can't talk when I'm focusing. I think that's everybody. Yeah. It's just using ammo. Or it just gave armor. Yeah. Oh, also these crates have a chance to drop armor. RNG is also, which RNG is just random number generation. So a lot of things relies on random chance. That's another big thing in roguelikes. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a mainstay, but it is very common throughout them. Alright. I don't know. I want to be talking about stuff right now. So basically, we've just finished our alpha, or beta rather. Is it our alpha? Or, I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyways, essentially now our game is mechanically complete. So we're not adding any new systems. We're not adding any new enemies. We're not adding any new mechanics. See, this is a gold chest. So this is actually a treasure room. You can see any room that has a chest in it will have a chest icon on it in the minimap. So that will give me an active item. Treasure rooms, if you don't have an active item, they have a 100% chance to give you an active item. After that, they have a chance to give you actives or some of the better passives. Additionally, they will never spawn an active item if you have seen the active item before. That active item has been spawned by any chests. So you won't end up with something like, I just got the whirlwind, and I like the whirlwind, so if I were to open one of those chests and it spawns a fireball, I don't want the fireball, so I'm not going to pick it up. So that means I've seen the fireball, which means it'll never be spawned again. And if I picked up, and regardless of whether I pick it up or not. Additionally, if I had picked it up, it wouldn't spawn, which is good because if I have a fireball, I don't need another one. So after you get, whoop, come on, jeez. So if you have active items, the treasure rooms and the golden chests in general have a smaller and I gotta focus for this one. Have a smaller and smaller chance of spawning active items because active items don't stack. You can only ever have one active at a time, and getting multiple actives of the same kind don't ever improve. Don't ever make you stronger. Seeing a larger variety of actives basically just lets you choose which one you want. It doesn't just make you inherently stronger. But passives, they stack. There are several passives. Like if you can get every type of passive in the game. There's no like limit on how many passives you're allowed to carry overall. However, the passives themselves do have a maximum instances. So like the one that increases your sword's size, you can get 3 of them. So you can get you can increase your sword's size 3 times. However, the one that makes your bolts leave fire behind them, you can only ever get 1 of. There you go. Ah. Monsters are really hard to deal with. No. Alright, give me a treasure chest, please. There is also a chance that treasure chests won't spawn when you clear a room. Like right there. It's sad. So that's the exit. Have I cleared the entire thing? No. So I actually want to clear the entire dungeon. If you don't want to clear the entire dungeon, you don't have to, but I like doing it because it gives you more loot, more gear. So let me see here. So yeah, there's a treasure room over here. To get into it, I actually have to complete the combat encounter in this room. Oh jeez, it's right there. But what was I saying? Anyways, yeah, we've completed our alpha, basically, which means we're now in beta. Because we're not adding any new systems or mechanics to our game, our time is going to be spent improving the systems and mechanics that we have and balancing. So we want we want all of the rooms to be challenging but not overwhelming, not frustrating. We want all the enemies to be the same. We want them to be challenging but not frustrating, and the same with the bosses. We want to make the game as engaging as we can without overwhelming the player, and without making. We don't want the game to be too easy or it's going to be boring. We don't want the game to be too hard or it's going to be frustrating. All this kind of stuff, and there's so many moving parts when you get to balancing. So now that's the only thing we're ever going to. Not the only thing, but that's the main thing we're going to be focusing on. The other thing is just implementing art assets. I'm not going to pick up this passive because it's actually broken. It needs to be removed from the spawn pool. Just hasn't yet, apparently. So I believe the end room is this one. Yeah. So this is the end room. In the finished game, you're just basically going to walk off the screen, and it'll take you to the next level, but the game isn't finished yet, so we just have this big purple block that you walk into. And then I'll take you to the next level. All of the levels are... I already said that all the levels are procedurally generated, but... Yeah, all of them except for the final dungeon. So each dungeon has 2 floors, so I just finished floor 1 of the forest, and I'm now on floor 2 of the forest. Oh, it's this room again. I really don't like this room. Why do I have 5 arrows? I shouldn't have 5 arrows. I need to talk to Dylan about that. So I'm actually only supposed to have 3 arrows right now, so I'm just going to take away 2 of them. Oh, I didn't get to talk about the slammers. Did we spawn treasure? No. So those guys that were standing still, those are slammers. They've got big axes and they just sit still. Oh, good. Jeez. Those guys are so hard to get away from without taking damage. Spread shooters. Because they fire spreads and they also explode into projectiles when they die. Come on. There we go. Give me treasure. No! You give me treasure. Yeah. So now, I haven't been using my active at all, or my melee. And that's just kind of my play style. The game is set up so that players can so that there's a variety of play styles that are valid. Melee heavy can work. I do very ranged heavy focus with just a lot of tap shots, not a lot of charging. And that's just how I play. Let me see here. Ah! That's still the broken one. No. So that one's not actually like completely broken. It doesn't like break the game or anything. It doesn't cause it to crash. It just makes it so that sometimes the arrows... so basically what it is always retract. So normally I can only retract one bolt, and I have to be holding down left click to do that. That passive makes it so that bolts always retract automatically. The problem with it is that sometimes when it's retracting the bolt, it stops retracting properly without stopping properly. So basically, your bolt will just go flying off forever. It won't run into anything, and you can't pick it up. And the passive is kind of underwhelming anyways, so it's not really worth the work. Come on. So it's not really worth the work to make it work. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, I forgot to mention what these blue things are. So these blue things represent holes, pits in the ground. Woo! Alrighty. Jeez. I also reflect a lot. That's another thing for my playstyle. Oh no. So yeah, these blue things represent pits. You can't walk through them, but you can shoot through them. You can also, or over them. You can also evade over them. So like, this would be a hole in the ground, and I would be able to dodge from one side to the other. It's really unclear that that's what's going on. No! I wasn't paying attention. I let myself die. Oh, that's alright, everything's gone. It's all gone. So yeah, those blue things are pits, and I need to reinitialize. Alright, there we go. So I guess I'll skip to the Badlands dungeon now. I don't think the boss fight is in the forest dungeon. Anyways, did I crash? I think I did. That's a problem. Alright. Gotta close that then. We can launch it again. We just got finished reorganizing the project. So like we moved a bunch of files around and cleaned stuff up and removed some of the old systems that we're not using anymore. But we still have references to them, and also, let me see here, is this one just always broken? Yeah, it's always broken. That is a crying shame. But we still have some references to the stuff that we removed that we need to patch up and fix, because when the game tries to access something that doesn't exist, it throws a big fit, and it stops running. So like when I walk into here, it's trying to load the scene that contains the Badlands dungeon, but it doesn't have the scene. It doesn't have a proper reference to the scene. So this is the final dungeon. This is the boss dungeon. I don't think the boss fight is in at the end of it yet. So this is the first room. It's a bunch of exploding barrels with also a bunch of exploders in the mix. And they're kinda... This is kinda the big point that the exploders were made for. Oh, they don't have... That room didn't have an altar. So it didn't spawn any treasure. Oh, jeez. And yeah, the final dungeon is much more difficult. The reasoning behind that is... The reasoning behind that is that, first of all, the player will have completed 2 dungeons already by this point. Jeez. Deflecting is overpowered. No. Okay. And the reasoning behind that is, like, first of all, the player will have all the items from their run, and the other thing is, like, it's static. It's not procedurally generated. So it's significantly more difficult than the other dungeons. But additionally, the player will know what to expect after a certain point. Like once they play through it, once, assuming that they remember, assuming that they have good memory, they will know exactly what's coming up and all of the rooms and decent solutions to them. So the idea behind that is, I don't want to say ideally, but it's very likely that the player will not be able to finish the final dungeon on their first run, and that's kind of something that we want. Oh, jeez. That was bad. I don't know how I got out of that one without taking damage. Oh, there's the reflector. No! No! Ow. Okay, that's enough of that. But once you go through the dungeon a couple times, you'll know what to expect, and you'll know how to solve things. Ah, jeez. Oh yeah, I forgot the reflector can also reflect projectiles that you've reflected. That's some fun. Oh no, there's a gremlin launcher. Where is he? He's hiding. I made him hide. He's too good at it. Why is he so fast? It's not supposed to be that fast. No. Come back. Die, please. Okay. Woo. I'm down to 1 armor. Things are great. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. So yeah, this dungeon's a lot harder, and I've never played through it all the way, so this is my first experience with it. No! I'm gonna give myself 4 armor because I want to show this off. I want to show this dungeon off. I'm not gonna turn invincibility on. Ah! I forgot how the enemy works, and I'm the one who made him. These dolly volumes. Ah! I think we need to add some clear information on, like, the path that they're going to take. It might be good. Not sure. We haven't tested stuff extensively yet. Give me something to grapple. I'll take it. Lets me move. Need more armor. Ooh. Okay. None of that. None of that. Woo! Oh, come on! Yeah, I'm really liking our game, though. I actually really enjoy playing it, which is saying something. Are those damage volumes? They are. Who made this room? Is it Mitchell? Mitchell, you cruel son of a gun. Oh my god, and there's gremlin launchers too. Oh no. Come on. I can take all of you. So this is something that, like we haven't done second pass on most of these rooms yet. So this is like the first pass. So we haven't done any testing or like received any feedback on them just yet. I'm gonna die. Where are my bolts? They're up here. Die. Die. Why did I come over here? I should not be over here. So one of the things that Mitchell didn't realize when he was making the first pass of all these levels was when you put things that come on. See, this is that bug. Now I'm not going to be able to get that bolt back until I actually complete the level. Ow. Oh, come on. I'm so bad. But yeah, when you like add these things that the enemies can't pass through, like the pits and the damage volumes, it makes melee enemies. It basically makes it so that they're very little to no threat, which is not something that we want. Okay, I need 3 ammo. I'm not getting through this with 2. Yeah, so the bug still happens. So that bug with the bolt that I can never get back, it happens even with normal bolts, or even without the passive sometimes, just with normal retracting, but it happens much more frequently when you have... Oh, come on. When you have the passives, so it's being removed. Oh, come on. No. Okay. Yeah, so that's something we don't really want. Oh, that cheeky reflected it back at me. Yeah, so enemies that try to path at you, like these guys are trying to get closer. It kind of breaks them. They just push up against the thing forever, and they can never get to it. So it makes them significantly less threatening. And like these fireballs, the unitizer, he can't get to me. I can just sit back here and retract forever and shoot, and we don't want to encourage that because that's a playstyle that is kind of boring. Ow. It is significantly less exciting here. I can do the thing. Haha. No! Alright, that's enough of that. I have armor, please. Thank you. Give me... I guess I'm probably gonna use that more. And that's a very passive, but yeah, sitting back and sniping is a very passive playstyle, and it's not something we want to encourage, because it's not, okay. Ow. Increased charge speed, so that means my charge shot goes significantly faster now. Oh, jeez. So many explosions. I don't have enough armor, I need more armor. And the ideal game, the way that it makes the way that the play method, like the play style, or the play styles that are enabled, that are the play. What am I trying to say here? An ideal game. In an ideal game with like perfect design, the playstyles that are the most fun are also the ones that are the most viable, the most optimal, the ones that take you to victory the easiest, or at least in the most convenient way possible. So, like, hanging back and sniping is not something we want to encourage. So one of the things we made for that was we made the bolt retrieval system. That makes it so that players have to go up and do it. Have to go up close to enemies and actually get close and engage in combat instead of sitting back and sniping. We did add the retraction because we don't want, because it's, if the player is in a situation where they can't get to their bolts and they also have no drips, they have no method of dealing damage. So we included the retraction system basically to make it so there's not many situations where the player is completely helpless. Where is the altar? There it is. Oh, jeez. No. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is a bad room. No. But we also... so you can retract, but we also made retracting inconvenient. It's not particularly fast. Oh my god. It's not particularly fast, and it also makes you move slower when you're doing it. So yeah, this right here, this is a problem. So yeah, retracting your bolt is not a particularly fast way of getting them back. Did you give me treasure? Where's the altar? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention you can evade through damage volumes and they won't damage you. Come on. Come on. I'm so bad. That scared me for a second. I forgot about that. Oh yeah, so this is the boss room. We haven't actually put Bulov in here yet. He hasn't been implemented. But this is where he will go. So yeah, that was a really hard dungeon. If I hadn't been constantly giving myself armor back, I don't think I would have made it. But I also had no passive items and no active items for most of it, and the player will have significantly more passive and active items than none by the time they get through to the final dungeon. But yeah, anyways, we also wanted to encourage the player to switch between the sword and the crossbow. And that's why we added the drips mechanic. So that you can't just use your sword forever, because the sword is a very fast way to deal damage. And it's pretty easy to use too, because most of the enemies try to get close to you. So if you just only ever use your sword, you eventually run out of drips. I forgot to mention, when you're out of drips and you swing your sword, it doesn't deal damage, but it still knocks enemies back and it still reflects projectiles. So that's something we added to encourage switching between them. We also added the mark system to encourage that. If you shoot an enemy, they become marked, and if you hit them with your melee while they're marked, it doesn't cost any drips. Let's see if I can go through the forest dungeon without dying. Alright. Alright. Why do I have 6 bolts? I shouldn't have 6 bolts. That's not what I want to decrease. I might still have my items too. I do. No. You stop it with that. Jeez. Jeez. Oh yeah, and the treasure icon also shows up in rooms that... It shows up in any room that has a treasure chest, not just treasure rooms. So if you forget treasure chest, you get an indicator on your minimap that, hey, you should go back and open this treasure chest, dummy. Why would you not open it? So yeah, you'll see if I hit him when he's marked, it takes no drips, but if I hit him now, it costs a drip. Let me see if I can... This guy. So yeah, that didn't cost any drips. So that encourages players to actively engage in combat even more. Because this game is significantly less fun if you just hang back and snipe like I constantly do. So we added a bunch of systems to encourage you to not do that. I'm kind of... I would be actively engaging more, because I do enjoy it more, but I'm also talking at the same time, so I'm not able to concentrate on the combat fully. Oh! Yes! I have flaming bolts now. I really... that's one of the best passives. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to concentrate, and I'm not able to concentrate on combat and talk at the same time very well. And I don't just want to sit here and have you watch me play the game. Another gold chest. Oh, homing bolts. So now I've hit a run of particularly good luck, which is awesome. That's something that happens in roguelikes in general. You get good runs and you get bad runs. My first run was pretty bad. I didn't get a lot of items that were very useful. No! No! Where are you? There he is. Alrighty. See, I'm blanking on speaking right now. I'm not even in combat. Just walking around breaking the collectibles or the destructibles. So you see my bolt's actually home now, which is very nice, very cool. Especially when they also do fire trails. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's something else. The bolt, if there are bolts that the bolt thief can't get to, he doesn't break, but he just gets stuck. Oh, I thought my fire was gonna kill him. I usually don't want to kill the bolt thieves, but for whatever reason, I killed him after I was happy that I didn't kill him by accident. Good. So that's a good one for me. Oh, jeez. I really don't like this room. So yeah, one of our design pillars is what's it called? So our big three design pillars are skillful, reactive, and fluid. So we want our combat to be, first of all, we want the combat to leave a very large, leave a lot of room for the player to improve. So if you play at low skill so if you practice, you become good at the game, and there's a lot of room for that. Oh, fire evade! I'm just getting all the fire passives. Oh, it's so nice. And then we've got reactive, which is we want a lot of the combat to be, instead of the player coming up with a plan before they go in, we want, I don't know why I killed him. I usually don't kill the bolt thieves. Oh, another gold chest. Good lord. Retract speed plus. That's nice. It's just quality of life. Alright, where was the end room? I think the end room was this one over here. Yeah. You'll see I'll get that bolt back when I walk up. I actually got 3 bolts back, which is not supposed to happen. So we need to look into fixing that. Alrighty. Oh, get out of here. No! No! I'm not paying enough attention. I keep killing me. Alright, is that everybody? Yeah, that's everybody. I don't think I've had a bronze chest drop anything except for armor today. Well, that's okay, because I've gotten a bunch of gold chests. Ugh. Fire is really good. Oh, wind geysers. Ow! Give me a chest. It's not even gonna give me a chest. Oh well. Here's another treasure room. Pick up radius up. That's nice. So now when I'm further away, so now I can pick up things when I'm further away from them. That's nice. No. No. Give me all the ammo back. Give me, it's just armor. Oh well, I guess I needed armor. So anyways, skillful, reactive. Reactive, we want the enemies to do a lot of actions that require the player to react very quickly. So we want a lot of the difficulty of the game to not to come from understanding and planning ahead, but rather from fast reaction time and well-practiced instincts, which also ties into the skillful thing as well. Another treasure room. Where is the altar? There is the altar. Hello. Stop. No! He went through the fire. Alright. I think that's everybody. Alright, did I get a treasure chest? Nope. Piercing bolt seek. Oh no. And I have piercing speed up, or the charge speed up, so so it's easier for me to do charging. It's easier for me to do pierce shots. Turn that music back up. Oh, I've been recording for a long time. I think I'm just going to record until I die, real quick. So reactive, we want to foster. We want the player to see that's the piercing shots redirect thing. If I fire a shot, oh, and bolts reflect. Oh my god. Yeah. This has been a stupidly good run. So now that should more or less clear the room. Yeah. So now I basically get to clear the room. Another increased pickup radius. Cool. I basically get to clear the room with one shot now, which we're pretty okay with, because I have gotten a very, very lucky run, and I also technically have passives from a previous run, which is not going to be something that's possible in the finished game. And then we have fluid. We want the player's actions to be very easy to carry out. and for them to very easily transition from one action to the next. So like, we want the evasion to feel as natural and fluid as possible. So we don't want the evade itself, like the input of executing the evade, to be difficult. We don't want the act of reflecting projectiles to be difficult. We don't want the act of performing a charge shot to be difficult. We want all of those actions to be fluid, and you'll notice they don't interrupt. Oh, jeez. This is just going to be cruel once he spawns you guys. Oof. I've got homing bolts and piercing shots redirect. It's just unfair. And fire bolts. Oh no. I already killed him. Alright, this part's broken. So I can just go back to the main menu. So if I just exit the main menu, it saves all of my stuff. So now, I would be able to go through the Badlands dungeon if the teleporter wasn't broken, but now I can go through the Volcano dungeon, and we can get a more accurate representation of what it's supposed to be like. I guess that's not entirely true either, because I have really, really good items. Oof. There I go. There's the last one. There he is. There we go. But there's no altar in that room. Fluid. Yeah. So like the skill comes not from, you know, having to press a very specific series of buttons to do an evade. The skill is knowing when to evade, and like how to time the evade. So the actions themselves are very fluid. We also want them to not to interrupt your movement. Like we just want the player to be able to go from one action to the next with very little very little difficulty. We want to make that the basic actions of our game, the atomic elements, if you will, simple to pull off. So the more complicated things come not from, you know, the skill comes not in being able to execute evades. Like I said, it comes from knowing when to use an evade, and when to use a charge shot versus a normal shot, and when to use melee. Give me that. No! Hello there. Wow. Ow. Yeah. And, yeah. What was I saying? Fluid. Oh no! It did the thing. Ow. Ow. Give me armor. I'm about to die. Why did I give myself armor? I said I was just going to record until I died. Take that back away. No, and that's it. Alright. So yeah, the skill in the game comes from knowing when to use your different actions and knowing when to use them in sequence and in concert with each other. And the last thing, it's not technically one of our pillars, but it's something that's come about, is synergies. So specifically with the active items and the passive items, we want, instead of each one just like giving you a separate effect that don't interact with each other, we wanted to have a lot of them that basically work well with each other. So like the firebolts and the reflect. Firebolts and reflect means when you fire a bolt and it bounces all over the place, you leave fire everywhere. So the fire bolts makes the reflect bolt better, and the reflect bolt makes the fire bolt better. So if you get that combination, you've got some pretty good stuff. And then other things like reflect and piercing shots redirect. So if you fire a piercing shot off, it'll go through a bunch of enemies, and if it happens to hit a wall, it doesn't get stuck. If it goes back through an enemy again, it'll redirect itself again. And that one is especially good with the homing bolts, which is another thing that I had. And then the actives also have synergies with the passives. So I guess I'll just show those off real quick because they're really cool. Give me all the things. Give me all the things. So this is like, I'm picking up literally all of the passives. I can't pick up some of them because I already have them from that run. But yeah. So I think I already talked about or did I already go over the synergies? Anyway, so yeah, that's another kind of design pillar that came up. It's not something that we planned from the start. It's not like one of the ones that we have written down. It's a little bit more unofficial. I don't have enough drips. But it's one that we decided we wanted a lot. So yeah, synergies are really good. There's another one. There's evade distance increase, which makes you evade over a longer distance, and the fire evade. The fire evade synergizes with that, so you'll see I'm leaving more fire and a wider thing of fire behind than I was before. And I don't want to go over all of the passives. I will be linking I will be putting a link to this build that I'm playing right now in the description of the video, so if you want to play it, you can go download it. Just keep in mind, the bugs that have been shown here, don't go into the Badlands dungeon because it breaks. And if you go into the tutorial, you're not going to be able to complete it. You'll just have to go back to the main menu when you get to the piercing room. So I don't think I have anything in specific to talk about otherwise. Yeah, I've been really, really happy with the way that the project is progressing and turning out. And it really doesn't feel like a student project, like playing. It feels like an actual game. Like one that was made by a studio with people whose job is to make games. And I'm really, really proud of that, and I'm really proud of the team for working really, really hard, busting ass, and getting this project up to that state. So the next big things are balancing and implementing art assets. So we're going to be basically just tweaking variables, making the game more fun, without changing the core systems in any way, because we're way too late into the project to be doing that kind of stuff. And we're just going to be, setting up the things that the art team makes, putting them in the game. So we won't have a bunch of cubes everywhere. We won't have the developer animations that we have, which I made, which are not very good, but they tell you what you're doing at least. And yeah, that's basically it. We got one more week of this month's class, and then next month, and then that's it. We graduate after that. So that's basically when our final project will be being turned in. Several people on the team, especially the art team, plan on continuing to work on this project after they graduate. Myself included. I did all the sound for the game. Every sound you hear in the game was made by me. including the music. And I really like doing that, but unfortunately I need to be, any time I spend on the project really needs to be spent improving the systems and making the game itself better instead of making it sound better. So that's a big thing I'm going to be doing after graduation. It's just about making a ton of sounds for it, engineering a bunch of sounds. And also probably implementing any additional art that we get. We're planning on eventually releasing the game on Steam. It's going to be free no matter where we release it. It'll probably also go up on itch.io. Yeah, and it's only ever going to be free because if this project were to generate revenue, the legal ramifications of distributing it all properly would require a lot of paperwork and a decent amount of fines. Or not fines, what is the term? Expenses? I don't know. Is it a fine? I don't know. Basically we would have to I don't know. We looked into the process, and it's really not worth it. Especially because this game is a portfolio piece, so its primary purpose is to get us hired. And if it's available for free on Steam, it makes it that much easier to distribute. And if we add, additionally, like if it spreads, like if word of mouth spreads around, and the game becomes decently popular, that's huge for our resumes. And it being free is only going to assist that. I think that's pretty much everything I have to talk about. I'm not sure because I didn't write down any notes or anything smart like that before I recorded this video. I kind of just booted up the game and go. But yeah, you can play the game for yourself if you want to. Keep in mind it is an alpha, so there are still bugs and broken things, and it's also unbalanced. Right now, it's probably a little bit too hard. I don't know. We're gonna be figuring that out. That's really all we really have left to do. It's basically just balancing and making the systems required for our game to talk to art assets, which are very simple. Anyways, I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. This game has been the past 4.5 months of my life, and I'm really excited about it. I'll probably be making another. I made a video like this one in the past. If you didn't see it, if you really want to, you can go back and watch that one and see how far we've come along since that video. It was a month ago. But the other video is also really long. We didn't have the passive system. We didn't have procedural generation. We didn't have like passive items at all. We didn't have passive items. What are some other things that we didn't have? The chests, we didn't have any sort of loot drop system. Randomized loot drops, at least. Yeah, the game has come so far in just a month, and this is also this game has been made by 6 students, 6 designers and actually 11, 6 designers and 5 artists, and the game's been made over the course of 4.5 months, or is it 3.5? I always get them confused. Let me see here. Prototyping. No, it's 3.5. 3.5 months. The total amount of time that we will have spent on this game officially as part of our coursework at Full Sail will be 5 months. Excuse me. And this game has come a long way. And it's pretty much just because everybody on the team is skilled and dedicated. They're really good at the specific things that they're doing. I'm good with systems and AI. Rob's really good with systems and also AI. I'm a little bit more familiar with our AI system because I built it, so I'm the one who's been doing all the AI and he's been doing the other stuff. Mitchell and Jonathan are really good level designers. They've been putting a lot of time and effort into getting better at level design specifically, rather than just general game design. Griffin has been working really hard on the UI. Making functional UI that's not obstructive, that's informative but not obstructive is really, really tricky. And also he made it update all of the different things. He made the minimap system, and he's really good at that. And Dylan is really good at the administrative stuff, making and documenting tasks that need to be completed by a certain due date. Making sure we all do those and we prioritize them properly. And making sure that we don't try to make things that are out of scope, things that like systems that are too big, we wouldn't be able to finish in time. So yeah, most of the rest of the work in this game is just polish work. It's pretty much going to play like it does right now, except there's going to be less bugs and it's going to be better balanced and it's going to be prettier. So yeah. That's Bolstad. Yeah. I've been rambling for probably about an hour and a half now, so I'm gonna say goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful day, and let me know if you want, and hit me up if you would like to know anything more about Bolstad. I'd be happy to talk about it or make a video about its systems. Like open it up in Unity and go over the project. Anyways, yeah, have a good day.